Stop scrolling. Stop blaming inflation. Stop thinking this is temporary. Something is changing with our food. But it's not another diet fad. It's not supply chain noise. This is a deliberate, quiet rewiring of the entire global food system. Food is no longer a commodity. It's a national security asset. And its plumbing, the policies, the controls, the choke points, is being militarized. We are entering a new world where state control and geopolitics will decide what's on your plate. This isn't a prediction. It's happening right now. The era of assuming cheap, abundant food would just show up is over. To make the most food for the lowest price. A complex web of just-in-time supply chains moved food from continents with surpluses to those with deficits. It was a logistical marvel, but it was also fatally fragile. The pandemic, wars cutting off grain, and extreme weather were a brutal stress test. Empty shelves and price shocks weren't a series of unlucky events. They were symptoms of a vulnerability we chose to ignore. A system built for maximum efficiency has zero slack, zero buffer, zero resilience. And governments have been paying very, very close attention. This is how the system breaks. It's not a slow decline. It's a fast, non-linear failure. Here's the mechanism. It starts with a trigger, a war, a drought, a pandemic. The war in Ukraine, for example, instantly disrupted the global flow of grain and fertilizer. When a crisis hits, the first move is survival. The incentives flip from global trade to national hoarding. The smoking gun is the rise of export bans. These are the first dominoes to fall. When India, a massive global supplier, banned some rice exports, it sent shockwaves through dependent markets. When Indonesia briefly halted palm oil exports, it hit everything from cooking oil to candy bars worldwide. Each ban sends a clear signal. In a crisis, we will feed our own people first. The global market is a distant second. This creates a vicious cycle. One country's export ban becomes another country's supply crisis. That incentivizes them to hoard their resources. Trust in the global system evaporates. The assumption that you can always buy what you need is shattered. The result is a mechanical cascade. One trigger leads to panic, which leads to export bans, which leads to hoarding, which leads to price shocks and empty shelves in your local store. If you're here to understand systems, not just headlines, this is the part that matters. Governments see this failure cascade, and their response is a fundamental shift in strategy, from hands-off efficiency to hands-on control. In the United States, the food and agriculture sector has officially been one of 16 critical infrastructure sectors for years, alongside energy and transportation. For a long time, that was just on paper. Now, Washington is saying the quiet part out loud. Food security is national security. So what does that mean? It means the government is now focused on resilience and control. We see this in two key areas. First, digital defenses. There is a growing push to fix cyber vulnerabilities in the food supply chain. The government is now running annual crisis simulations, wargaming the total collapse of food distribution networks to see how they'd respond. Hostile actors see the food industry as a prime target because its defenses have been weak, but its importance is absolute. Second, physical infrastructure. The USDA's Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure, RFSI, program is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to strengthen the middle of the supply chain. Not the farm or the grocery store, but the invisible processors, aggregators, and distributors that connect them. The goal is to build more decentralized, local, and regional networks to reduce reliance on a few massive choke points that can bring the whole system down. This isn't a bailout. It's a strategic, structural investment to prioritize stability. This move from a market-driven system to a security-driven one is a radical break from the last half century. The guiding principle was that the free market's hunt for efficiency would deliver cheap food. And it did. But we now see the hidden cost of that efficiency was fragility. Building a resilient system, one with backups, stockpiles, and more local production, is naturally more expensive. This is the trade-off. In the old model, a shock like a drought or a war translated directly into price spikes. In the new model, the government's goal is to create a cushion that can absorb those shocks. But that cushion has a cost. Prioritizing domestic production means we may no longer buy from the cheapest possible source. Strategic stockpiling of grain, now being expanded in China and Europe, ties up capital. Smaller, regional processing plants are less efficient than gigantic ones. The result is a permanent change in the baseline cost of food. Think of it as a resilience premium we will all pay. Food prices might become more stable, but the average price at checkout will likely settle at a permanently higher level. The government is deciding that a higher grocery bill is a price worth paying to avoid the catastrophic risk of system failure. We already do this with military hardware. We don't buy it from the cheapest bidder. We build it ourselves for security. That same logic is now being applied to what keeps us fed. This shift isn't just happening in one country. It's a global scramble that is transforming international relations. We are in an era of food nationalism. In this new world, food is power. Countries that are net food exporters gain immense geopolitical leverage. They can use the threat of withholding food to achieve political goals, just as nations have done with oil. Countries that depend on food imports become vulnerable, their foreign policy held hostage by the need to feed their people. We're seeing the global map redrawn along these lines. Nations are forming new alliances based on food security, investing in agriculture in friendly countries to create reliable supply chains. A key battleground is the land itself. Scrutiny over foreign ownership of agricultural land is exploding. In the US, an old law called the Agricultural Foreign Investment Disclosure Act, AFIDA, is getting new attention. Lawmakers are pushing to improve tracking and transparency with a new online system to get a handle on who owns what. The fear is simple. If an adversary controls your land, they control your food. The global fight for computer chips and energy is now mirrored by a fight for fertile land, water, and fertilizer. Food is no longer just food. It's an instrument of national power. This new reality is changing fast. Understanding the link between global politics, your grocery bill, and the plumbing of our supply chains is more critical than ever. To keep up with how these forces are reshaping our world, subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're tracking this story, and you won't want to miss what comes next. And let us know in the comments, what item disappears first where you live? We started with a simple idea. The government's view of food has changed. It's no longer a simple commodity. It's now seen through the cold, hard lens of national security. This isn't a temporary crisis response. It is the beginning of a new and permanent reality. The 40-year experiment in a hyper-efficient, globalized, and dangerously fragile food system is over. It's being replaced by a model where resilience, self-sufficiency, and state oversight matter most. This shift will change the cost of living. It will rewire global alliances. It will alter the relationship between citizens, the market, and the government. The next time you walk through a grocery store, remember what you're really looking at. Those shelves are the end result of a strategic national asset, a system being re-engineered for a more turbulent world. You're not just a consumer. You're a citizen inside that system. This is the same story we've been telling. When the plumbing fails, paper promises don't matter. The rules have changed, and the stakes, our economic stability and our national security, couldn't be higher.